Mr. Christensen, ready to call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Chris Andersen.
Thank you, Ms. Macanas. Sir, I'll have you take the oath and you'll take the witness stand.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Proceed when you're ready, counsel.
Could you please state your first and last name and spell your last name for the court?
Chris Andersen, Andersen.
What is your occupation and your profession?
I am a special agent with the FBI.
How long have you held that position?
Going on 15 years.
Did you have any other law enforcement experience before you began that position?
No.
Did you have any educational background that related to this position?
Yes, I got a bachelor's degree in international studies and a minor in finance.
How about any training that you might have completed as part of your current position?
I went to the FBI Academy. It was a 5-month-long training, and I've had supplemental trainings all along the way regarding sophisticated investigative techniques, interviewing. I also am a trained negotiator and firearms instructor.
Great, thank you. What are your present job duties?
I investigate crimes, federal crimes, here in southern Utah.
Now, you said you've done this for 15 years.
Yes.
Can you give an approximate number of cases or crimes you've investigated?
Dozens.
Tell us where your office is located.
I'm located in the St. George office, which is a satellite office of the Salt Lake City division. We're a small office here in southern Utah, and we cover almost a quarter of the state, the southwest quarter of the state.
Do you have any experience in testifying in court?
I do.
In which courts?
I've testified multiple times in both state and federal court. In state court, it's been in multiple states, different states.
Were you employed in your present and current position on or about the year starting with March 2017?
Yes.
All right, can you tell us about the cases we're involved in today? How did the FBI get involved in these cases?
I got a call from Sheriff Cameron Noel from Beaver County, and it's not uncommon for me to get calls from other county officials, sheriffs, and
Why would that be?
we depend on our local law enforcement partners to do our job. We can't do it without them frequently, and oftentimes they also request help from us too.
All right, so go on to explain after you got a call from Sheriff Noel what happened, or who called you and what essentially, how did you get involved on the case?
So he advised me that there had been a break-in that had occurred earlier in the year. He told me about a video that had been posted online, and he said that he was requesting some assistance. He believed that there was some potential federal crimes that that had been broken and violated, and so
Objection of hearsay?
Let me move on. Agent Anderson, when you get a report of a crime, what process do you follow?
It's so the first part of that is making sure that there's proper predication for a case.
All right, so I'm going to follow a line of questioning because I would like the jurors to hear what you would do in a normal investigation when a crime is reported. And I'd like them to try to understand this from their point of view. So would it be helpful if you were to perhaps use a chart and be able to diagram what you do in a normal investigation?
Sure,
Would you be willing to do that?
sure.
Okay. We'll have you walk.
Objection relevance?
I'm gonna allow it.
Where would you like this You're fixing you?
I guess, I know that.
No, that's fine.
Depends on the witness.
I'm gonna come over I need to make sure that the defendants can see this.
We'll figure it out.
What do you want?
We'll go back where we were. All right, so why don't you start with the first step of your investigation process? And you stated you got a report of a crime. Could you draw that up for us? And was there a report of a crime?
So yes, we received a report of a crime, and I was able to view the video and was able to determine that as part of my predication, which is the next step of my process, that there was likely a crime had occurred.
Now, you just mentioned a video. Let's go back and talk about what video you're talking about.
It's an approximately 11-minute video that had been posted on multiple news outlets, New York Times, Huffington Post, various others, Direct Action everywhere. And I think it was a video that depicted multiple individuals going on to Smithfield.
Objection, Your Honor, to a description of a video. The video being the best evidence of what was on the video.
Sustained, but I'm gonna allow him to testify as to that it's sustained. I don't want him going into depth on the video.
All right, thank you. All right, so you received that information, and then what was your thought process next?
So I have to find proper predication, and in this case,
And what does predication mean?
that's a great question. I often describe or have to explain that to various victims and witnesses. Predication is the basis for believing that there was a crime that had been committed.
And what do you do when you're in this stage of your investigation?
I determine proper predication, and that comes through speaking with other law enforcement officers and getting approval through my management, through my chain of command.
So you did indicate that you were the lead investigator, but were there other members of your office that might have assisted you as well?
Your Honor, before the witness answers that question, I've been informed by someone who's attempting to view through WebEx that the witness cannot be heard currently, which causes me to fear a record is not being made of this proceeding, which is critical. So,
Well, let me ask Tammy, is the record picking up this witness's testimony?
It seems clear, Your Honor, and we're recording it both on WebEx and the FDR.
And I think the bailiff putting that microphone where he has, but Ms. Corcoran, if we're making a record, the court is making a record, and it sounds clear, I think that's what I'm most concerned about.
me too. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
And thank you for letting us know that. Counsel, proceed.
All right, after predication, what comes next?
Well, what I call investigative purposes or steps. And I break these in, this part of the process varies a little bit depending on the type of case.
Explain how you would break it up for this particular.
In this particular case, it's broken into two areas. The first is identification of the intruders. And the second is collecting evidence. And there are subcategories to each of those.
So you indicated that there was a report of a crime and you were in predication. Were there any particular laws that you were looking at that time or going through your thought process?
Yes, as I developed proper predication of a federal crime, my investigation focused on transportation of livestock across state lines.
And is that something that the FBI would normally get involved with?
Yes, it's under Title 18.
And could you please explain why that would happen?
Your Honor, objection, relevance, we're not in federal court, we're not talking about interstate livestock.
I agree with that, but I think the state should be able to present how they or why they did their investigation. Ms. Macanas, I don't want you to spend a ton of more time, but if you want to give us this, I'll allow you to do this, but if I don't want to spend a ton of time on it.
Your Honor, we're done. Thank you. Let's go to your identification of intruders. Now you said those are your two investigative purposes, so what falls under there?
So the steps that I took in this particular investigation was to analyze the video, analysis of internet and social media, and then finally, driver's license records.
Now, in your experience in working with the FBI, had you ever been involved in any cases involving the type of things, the report of crime that occurred here?
No, this is the first time. This is the first time I've investigated. This just doesn't happen in Southern Utah very often.
All right, so let's go ahead and have you tell us a little bit about your video analysis as far as your investigation.
Okay. So the
Your
video.
Honor, I'd just repeat the objection Ms. Corcoran made in terms of both relevance in the court's prior rulings. Not clear that the video should be described rather than just played in the courtroom. To the extent the witness is going to testify about his analysis, the video should just be played.
The best evidence is sustained, but it's relevant as to how and why this person did what he did, so that part's overruled.
All right, so kind of walk us through your thought process.
Sure. The idea is the predication showed that a crime had been committed, and it was important the FBI tried to be very thorough in determining what happened and who did it. And so the purpose of watching the video and analyzing that for identification purposes is to see if I can find a matching identity that matches the persons depicted in the video.
Now, along with that, you said number two, internet and social media. Was that occurring at the same time?
Yes, it was.
And explain what you were doing there.
So on the internet and on social media, at the time that the video was released, there was significant chatter about what was going on, and there was posts from both defendants about their involvement in the case.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. anybody can post anything claiming to be anybody on the internet.
Sustained.
Move to strike the last answer that it was the defendants online and that they admitted to anything.
Stricken.
Request instruction of the jury disregard the last testimony.
And members of the jury, please disregard the last answer that you heard from this witness.
Could you please talk about your identification of the intruders through driver licenses?
Sure. As everyone might expect, each state has a Department of Motor Vehicles that maintains photos of approved drivers in their state. The FBI uses CJIS, which is just a database, criminal justice information system, where we have access to those records. And I was able to pull records that matched identities found inside of the video.
Objection, Your Honor. There is no evidence that this witness has any particular special training to identify photographs and to compare facial forms or identities. Many people bear resemblances, general resemblances to each other. The photographs that have been introduced so far into evidence are dark, grainy, side views of people.
Well, ma'am, they haven't been introduced into evidence yet, and I'm going to allow counsel to lay the foundation for what this person's doing.
But I object to his identifying and saying,
At this point, he hasn't identified anybody. He said the part that you asked to be stricken was stricken.
"Hey,
I want the state to be able to make their case. Go ahead.
Right, so where we left off, you were explaining that you obtained driver's license information.
That's correct.
And did you obtain driver's license information for Mr. Schwein?
Yes.
And where did you get that from?
The Department of Motor Vehicles for California.
And also for Mr. Picklesheimer, did you do the same?
Yes.
And where did you obtain that one from?
The record came from West Virginia.
And was this helpful to your investigation?
Yes.
Explain why.
Because I have, so through my years as an FBI agent, much of what I do is identification of subjects. It's something that I do regularly in almost all of my investigations. We use various techniques, databases. We also use photos. We also use interviews and witness testimony to do that. So for me, as part of meeting the investigative purposes, identification was super important. Driver's license is